Hello, welcome to the queue, Operation 43rd Wessex, and this is the final turn, or the final video, I should say, as the Japanese fleet on that task force moves over to San Francisco. Um, the two submarines here from Japan will slide over to Sydney, and this Navy here will slide up to Calcutta. And the German Navy doesn't need to move because it's already there at London, and the Allies have officially surrendered to the fleets of the world. Um, and the communists have decided to stop fighting as well. So that is a wrap to the game. And the victory points as it stands. We just lost Kido Butai, and on the Japan turn we'll get it back, but doesn't matter. Looking across the board here, Lebensraum is worth 2. Once you achieve it, you always get 1, which is one of the new rules for 4.3. So Germany has 1 of the 2 possible Lebensraum. So if you add it up, the Axis with 9, the Allies with 6, and the Comintern with 3. So that's pretty much how the game ends. Some of these could change. Like I said, I'll have that. I may lose this one. One of the two. I don't think I can hang on to both. But either way, and then we were on our way to securing that one, depending on the U.S. moves. So the net effect is a couple more turns will still yield the same results. So anyway, with that in mind, first look at what Japan was going to do here. Our whole idea here in Burma was, I don't know if we were going to hold up against that, but certainly we'll reduce it, that FEC army down to an ineffective fighting force in continuing on to Malaya. And by reducing that severely, our factory here in FEC's bombed. There wasn't any more really help coming. We had some ships and Marines over on this side. So that's why I think their decision was either to take away the Southeast Asia point or go after one of these islands. But in effect, I had a counterattack set up. So if they went into one of these islands, I could quickly take it back. At least that's the concept anyway. So who knows how this would have turned out. I am slightly outnumbered here. I'd say slightly. I couldn't, I'm not going to do the math here real quick, but they might have me by 6 units, maybe 7. I'm not counting the anti-aircraft, because I guess if they took all those anti-aircraft guns, then the Japanese counterattack with all the planes, that would be the end of the FEC army. So we did have our decisive battle here in China. I think that pretty much eliminates the KMT from competition here. They do have a couple stacks of infantry. However, without any firepower, Nanking is pretty safe. The CCP could venture out, but it doesn't seem likely. Even going here into the mountains to Suyan to try and make an end run in there to Manchuria, I don't know that would work. Who knows? It might have, but at the same time, I have these forces that can shift. Even though Japan's empty now, we're at a stage where we're going to build units to ship south, to ship north, to wherever the fighting will be. Like I said, here in the upper Pacific, we had given the U.S. fits throughout this second part of the game. I don't know what their counterattack might have been. I would assume to try and open up Pearl Harbor, but then whatever's left here, you know, I've got that and that to ease, not easily, but maybe probably not take that back. That doesn't seem like that's viable unless all these ships bite the dust in taking these out. And then the force that's here probably has a good chance of taking out that. So who knows if Hawaii would have fallen. In the south here, the U.S. were kind of contained by that whole supply issue. Um, Anzac was pretty much defensive the whole game, which is what you want. You don't want Anzac and FEC being able to go on offensives. So, and it's easier to isolate the Anzacs there. As far as this part of the world, Italy really had one task, I guess, was to tie up the Allied Navy. There was an opportunity to come over here, and they won their Italian Navy victory sculpt there, wiping out the U.S. fleet, and then in defense, kind of crippling the British fleet a little bit. I mean, their battleships had to stick around and repair. They did lose some ships, which created a situation where the German Navy can come down now and threaten A-35 again. Now there are all these ships that could shift back, and then there's a couple battleships that are finally repaired, can come back. But that really helps the Axis, and of course they had the option too of all this stuff coming into the Med, but I think Rome is pretty solid, just because there are 4 U.S. transports here. However, there's only 2 transports in the Med. 2 transports over here in the Indian Ocean, and 2 British transports up there that are about to be squished off. They can run for certain next turn, but just not a lot of concentrated power by Britain. They have captured all of Africa now. So this rail line, which is usually bombed by the Italians, is safe for the game, for a victory point. Italy really did nothing here in Africa. They took Abyssinia, and as usual, the British are the recipients of the the factory and the airbase. So that's kind of a thing that's going on. Is it worth even going after Abyssinia, at that point? But I guess you get a couple units and you could build down there if you choose to. So Italy has ridden out the war, the big naval battle, and then pretty much fortified Italy itself. Germany, on the other hand, went on the offensive early into Russia, which proved very beneficial. Caught the Russians napping, and really have held this southern block of Russia the whole game. Because they went to France. I can't remember what turn it was. Maybe it was 6, and then turn 7, they went right into Russia and took all this, and then marched their way up, and finally took Leningrad, giving Lebensraum the 3 cities in Russian territory for the first time since that was actually a victory condition in our games that we've played here. So it's a real tough one to get against, a good Russian player. So kudos there. And Leningrad falling, I think, is only the second time that in the games we've played that's actually happened. So now the Germans retreated out of there due to the large stack of Russians that were building in Moscow since the beginning of the war between Germany and Russia. And then they finally marched out to come over and retake Leningrad. Well, it was a walk-in, so let's not get too excited. But they'll hold that for sure with what's there against any counterattacks. So Russia, pretty much off balance the whole game. The early attack really crushed them, but not getting improved factories until this turn so they could build their T-34s. really hurt. They just had no offensive firepower. They did build, well, I guess they built one aircraft, so they were using militia, infantry, and aircraft in counterattacks, but that was about it. And honestly, the rockets, what do they got? They've got 2, 4. So they've only had the heavy or advanced artillery here for 2 turns. So they built some artillery and then the Katyushas for 2 turns. So tech was not in their favor at all. So looking at the U.S., they went into Portugal as they were sleeping, not even aware that they were going to be in the war. And they've stockpiled there, but have been, after losing that fleet, kind of trapped because of the German fleet. They couldn't really come up without the aid of Britain, and their fleets are, you can see, kind of spread out, across, I don't know, half the globe maybe. So anyway, there's pretty much a summary of the game. US did get their tech bonus, so they got all their good stuff. Never actually saw their B-29s in action, though. Part of that was the amount of German fighters in Paris. And really, you got 3 Italian fighters here in North Italy and 1 in Rome. So they really needed air support by these jets to go in there and bomb efficiently. But I guess they could have still tried. But probably not a good deal. Can't remember what the intercept value of the B-29 is. I think it's a 2. And then if you got radar, and they do not. So that would have been at a 2, whereas the Italians, they don't have radar, do they? No, so they would have been at a 3, a normal. So maybe that would have worked. Who knows? Given time, that might have happened. But I think time has run out for the Allies and Comintern. And we are moving on. Got to start another game here. I'm not sure if it's this week or next. But there's a look at this game anyway. As far as some of the 4.3 rules, I'm really, a fan of some and not a fan of others. The supply, I'm not a big fan at all, even though it was used pretty efficiently here in the Pacific. It's creeped into so many other things. Like the port facilities, the strategic naval movements, the diplomacy, and the naval ships themselves. So it's a web of supply that I think we could do without. So that's my opinion on the supply. Just about the diplomacy, I expected more, I guess. So I'm disappointed in that. But otherwise, pretty much all the other changes, big fan of. And I've got that change video at the beginning of this playlist for 43rd Wessex, so you can see that. I think it's the second video in the playlist. And you can get a complete list. Well, almost a complete list. I didn't put every single change in there, but the ones that I thought were significant. So there you have it. Thanks for watching the game, guys. And look for another game starting here shortly.